well, I think that the educational system got hijacked even before they realized what they were doing because of the industrial complex, because of Henry Ford, right? Because they started to move everyone towards cities, right? It might have been the plan all along, but I think with a lot of these like new world order moves, they see what's happening and then they hijack it, right? But when the industrial
Mm.
complex or the
Like the feminist movement,
industrial the what?
like the feminist movement. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When the industrial revolution happened, right? You went from like making everything by hand to going to factories, and then people had to start moving to cities. And then that's when education became like reformed because people were really using that to go get a job at a factory that you could have for a long, long, long time. And that was like a lot more stable for your family. So in a lot of
Right.
ways, it was a good
It made
thing.
sense. It made sense. Right.
Right, right.
But then it gets hijacked. Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
I hear you.
So yeah, it was really interesting. So boys, welcome to the
Boys, how we
pod.
doing?
All right.
Welcome to the pod. Okay, I need to wait before we start. I'm having my technical situation is not what I want it to be. So I need to record this out of Audition. I still can't get this to
That's
work. So
so
I'm record.
weird.
I don't understand
Oh,
what it is, and I can't find a video. But so I'm recording off this thing. But where is it? Oh, over here.
oh, the
Hello.
lapel.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'll have a legit lapel mic today.
And how was it? Because
Not
last
not
week
not
we were
great.
well, and then as
It's
far
okay. It's doable. But my audio is definitely like not the same as yours guys.
hmm.
Was
But
mine better?
yours is better than mine, yeah, for sure.
So my,
With this
you know what
lapel
you
mic,
can
but
do?
the Apple earphones are great.
What you can
I
do
might just get those.
is you can record standalone audio from into your Shure mic, and then on Movavi, I don't know if you have Movavi, but there's an auto sync. So you put both the clips in, and then you
Yeah.
just put auto sync, and it will sync it directly to.
Oh yeah, no, the syncing's not a problem. The first time was fine.
Mhm.
It didn't actually take that long to do. I just go through the clip and I find when I'm talking alone, because when we're talking together, I can't replace it because then you don't hear you guys. So only when I have like little bits alone, it's worth having it. But
Hmm.
this was way better than the week before, because the week
Yeah,
before I literally had it on my fucking
yeah.
retarded. But I can't figure it out. I'm sure there's something, but I can't. I haven't been able to find a video. I haven't been able to find a Reddit
Does
to figure it
your
out.
so right now your microphone's plugged directly into your computer?
It's plugged into my sound card that's plugged into my computer. Yeah, and
Okay.
I can record it on my on Audition. It
Yeah,
works on every other way except for Zoom. It works on
because I
Teams.
was thinking maybe like a workaround could be if you plug the microphone directly into the camera and just use the camera audio. But I don't know how to get the XLR into because
No, I can't.
this one here, the
Yeah,
MV7, it's a podcast one, so it's a USB
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
XLR. But yeah,
How much was that thing?
uh, 250, I think.
Jesus, I might just bite the bullet and take that.
Let's see.
Get that because it's yeah, this is pissing me off, but is what it is.
Yeah, let me check and see
But it's
exactly.
okay. It's not that big of a deal. For this one, we'll just do that. I'll
Yeah,
record it separately. I'm not going to hear you guys for a second because I don't know what it's doing with the hardware. So give me a sec. Track edit.
yeah, 250. It's unfortunate that they made a software called Motive for computer where it just enhances it enhances this microphone just so well. Like it makes it like studio quality. But the app hasn't worked on Mac for like 3 months now. So everyone's pissed off. Like you guys can't even make a software that works for the for the computer that you sell it to. So I'm waiting for that, but it sounds incredible once it's working.
Okay, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, podcast 03. Let's see if this works. Hello? Hello?
Yep.
Fuck me. No, I'm looking for audition.
Oh,
Interesting.
also, how did it look with all three of us on screen at all times? I think it'd be harder to edit,
I
right?
can't hear you. One sec.
Yeah, because like Gentry, you can see all three of us on screen right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that is for recording though.
Mm.
You know, for like
Have we
the way it would look on camera.
have we thought about going through like one of those softwares like StreamYard or Riverside?
Well, OBS does the same thing. I just have to set it
Okay.
up. But the thing is with
Okay.
that, there's a few ways to do it. Like, so each of us will have, well, I mean, it really does the same thing that Zoom does on the speaker setting, because only the speaker is showing at one time. So it does it automatically. Whereas with OBS, I'd have to change the cameras depending on who's talking.
Mhm.
So Zoom does it automatically, but I mean, as far as other scenes and all that, yeah. But you know, for a podcast, you know, the issue is because we have to edit for Instagram size and YouTube size. So if you throw all these cool graphics on like on OBS, you're gonna have to remove them or just zoom in super close for Instagram anyway, and then you lose
Mhm.
all those like all that stuff, all those graphics you put on. So it's tricky. So that's what I was saying. If we sit a little further away from the camera, we can zoom in on us for Instagram and have it not like get super close up to our face.
How far away is this good?
Maybe a little. I mean, that's I think. Well,
Is this good?
the
How about
lighting is not
this?
good that bad. That's the issue. I think
I
maybe it's
look
just
like
like
one of those like
the green screen.
anonymous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those like anonymous videos in the documentaries.
Yeah.
That could be pretty cool. When we're talking about certain things, have videos like that.
Yeah. Let me
This is retarded, man. This is fucking stupid. I'm using 6 different things. Okay, hold on. I think what do I do?
I mean, it sounds fine, but even just the way that like whatever
No,
that we're hearing. But I know from your end, you're just like, no, I want.
it's just because when I edit it, I really hear it. By the way, so I finished editing the whole thing. It looks great.
With the
Hold on
3
one
cameras.
sec.
Okay.
3 cameras, yeah, but 1 sec.
Yeah.
Did you see my headphones that were here? Fuck. No, my little white one, my pill one. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Ah. This is ridiculous, guys. Sorry. Hello?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it looks great. With the 3 things, what I think I'm going to do is sometimes when one of us is talking for longer is just make it full screen, because I kind of like the way it was full screen for some of the talking.
Yeah.
But so I'll be able to like split it up into 3 and then like have a bigger scene and then come back to us with all 3, because it's nice to have our reactions all 3 together sometimes, but maybe not the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes I'm like looking off or I'm doing something and it looks like I'm not paying attention, but I'm like checking something or looking online for something or.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna fucking bite the bullet. The other thing I noticed is Fabian, me and you, I don't think we realize we're doing it, but we are very interruptive. I noticed at the end, Gentry, when we're trying to go through the debates, I didn't notice it while it was happening, but yeah, we cut you off so many times. But so that's something that I think if you notice a Gentry, like stop us and say, all right, guys, let's get through this, and then we'll yap about it, you know?
Yeah, and there's a big difference between like interrupting to do like a something that lasts 5 seconds, like to add additional whatever. But
Or go off on a tangent.
yes, exactly. But going off on a tangent and then trying to come back to the point, that's where the issue starts, because everyone gets lost in like, well, wait, what was he saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So like a little
Because
5 second.
we're also so like ADD too that we can go off on any single tangent that we bring up.
Well, and
So
that
we
really
need
goes back.
we need to like have somebody, depending on what we're doing, like bring us back in, you know, depending who it is that we can go off tangents.
And that's what I was saying like a few episodes ago, that like or that's why I think on last episode I was like, we shouldn't like redo it because it was like a little long.
Yeah, that
but
was
like
last
anytime
one.
yeah,
No, but
anytime
that was good actually, because I cut that out. It was way too long, the 17th Amendment thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe if we're going to talk about something, it might make sense for us to go over that separately. So we have context, we're all on the same page, we're all the same kind of, you know, talking points ish, whatever, and then we can actually break it down.
Yeah, I think two things. Well, obviously with the interruption, just like a quick 5 second, like if you're gonna add something that makes his point better or whatever. And then if we're talking ourselves, maybe trying to like be cognizant of, okay, has it been over a minute, or has it been 45 seconds, or you know, how long have I been talking for? Because then, so it doesn't go too long. And I have that problem. I think we all have that problem, but because then if we don't want to interrupt each other, we're going to sit there and then like you may not notice it or I may not notice it, whatever, but we're, you know, it's 3-4 minutes of one person talking, and then for the listener, they're like, okay, well, like what does everyone else think about that?
All right. Okay. Record and shut the fuck up.
All right, I'm gonna top off my coffee here. Hang on.
Nice.
Fuck me, man. Okay, so that's recording. Maybe Fabian stop. No, can't do it. How did I record last time? Fuck. Okay, all right. No. Hello.
Do you think if I twerk, it'll get better views?
Oh, for sure.
I think we should definitely get a twerk session.
Absolutely.
I think one day we'll have to do like maybe just a chill, relaxed. You know, I don't know if you guys know, you don't drink, Gentry, but have a chill, relaxed one where we're just maybe like watching UFC or something. You know.
Oh yeah, like a Joe Rogan fight companion.
Yeah, something like that. Just for
he's doing that.
That's where
Steven Crowder's doing that. He's doing those little.
Oh really?
Which I mean, we definitely can do. Just like
little live
reaction. Yeah, talk about. And to be honest, I don't like when Steven Crowder does it because he's like, it's too gimmicky.
He's a bit pompous too. He's a bit like, he's a lot.
Yeah, it's like watching a comedian almost watching the debate rather than like actually getting good information. He's like, oh, look at that, and I'm like, dude.
Well, he is a comedian by trade, so
yeah, it makes sense. It's just. All right, Kay, for this one, I'm gonna do this mic again. Forget about it. Ready when you guys are.
So let me see. You know what I can do actually?
I was thinking, okay, so Gentry, you posted a lot this week and you've been keeping up with what's going on. Do you want to maybe, do the intro and kind of set us up? So we change it up? How do we feel about that?
Oh yeah. Also, so like for the intro, we don't have to have like a formal intro every single time.
Yeah.
Okay. Just say let's get into it.
Well, yeah, like you know how so for instance, yeah, like Joe Rogan.
Guards, fucking breakaway.
Yeah, Joe Rogan just kind of starts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he kind of just starts. So that way it's, you know.
Yeah.
It works good if it's not on camera, and then you can have a cool intro every time.
Yeah.
But then like, so what I found is like if you're doing a video podcast, but you add an intro that's just audio, and like, what do you put so people don't think it's just audio? So I tried it a few times and I put like video coming soon, but it doesn't really work that well. I mean, it just like it looks awkward.
Yeah, well,
So
the intros you did last time were good the last couple times, but you're right. We can mix it in and see actually what does better. See if it's just like, all right, we're live. Let's how you guys doing?
yeah, episode number 3, Breakaway USA. Let's get into it. Kind of
Mhm.
something quick.
That actually is a dope intro, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, just to the point, like
And we can switch up who does it each time, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we just have the tagline like "Let's get into it,"
Hmm. I like
that's
it.
kind of dope.
mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of that actually. I know you guys know Brandon Tatum. I think he's
Yeah,
Brandon
actually,
Tatum, yeah.
I smoked cigars with him a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Are you near him? Or where?
No, I was in San Diego for the USA Faith Conference,
Oh, right. Okay.
or the Turning
So
Point USA Faith
so
Conference.
he has let's get into this, which is a
Oh,
little
really?
different. Yeah. So I we can do let's get into it. That's
Yeah.
um it's different, but it's also like his whole thing is like a tone and everything. Like, let's get
Yeah.
into this. You know,
Yeah.
he can rock that. I don't think we can.
Well, he's got a little bit more swagger because he's black.
Yeah, but also he's just got some more swagger.
Yeah. Like Shane Gillis says, the blacks in this country keep the whites the whites at bay or something like that.
Yeah. Keep us humbled. Yeah. So what do we want to you guys went over kind of what we want to do. I feel like going over your Instagram gentry is probably a good idea too. Like you pumped out a lot of news this week.
Yeah. Well, I think what you posted about the not sending money to Ukraine kind of dovetails into the McCarthy deal, right?
What I posted about not sending money to Ukraine?
Yeah. So in the show notes, I'm pretty sure this is you. The
Oh,
Slovakian Populist Party pledged to end Ukraine
yes.
aid to Ukraine, because that was a direct result of the McCarthy getting ousted, because probably won't be sending any more money to Ukraine after this.
Right.
So, I mean, that might be a really, really good one to start with. And then we could dovetail into Trump being speaker. Who do we think should be speaker? And then we could dovetail that into the FBI going after MAGA Trump supporters. And then we could dovetail that into the last thing that I want to talk about, which I don't know if you guys do, but this basically admission of guilt for trans people being pedophiles.
Yeah, fine with that. I had on here Josh Green commenting on Lahaina and saying we're going to build back better. And
oh, really?
My and Biden also said it in Maui when he went, and it's just like the idea that comes to mind for me is like it's been less than a month since this wildfire happened.
Mm-hmm.
You're instead of having like ceremonies and taking your time and letting the families grieve and like making sure that you find all the children, you're like, all right, let's go, let's build it back. Like
there's money to be made, baby. Money don't wait.
Something's weird. Like something's very weird with this guy's reaction. Very cold and very like just I don't know. Anyway, so that was something I wanted to touch on, but because we talked a lot about Hawaii last week, and I want to actually put in a bunch of clips.
Yeah. I think we talk about it. I think we just get into it right now.
Yeah.
All right.
So Mike, for editing, there's no way to put all three of us on one Instagram size. Yeah.
Vertical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could.
Just by cutting and putting like one on top of the other or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of I
because I'd rather do it easy. Like, I mean,
no, but it's fine. It's fine. Like if it's worth doing, I'll test it out with some stuff, maybe not with everyone, but because I'm already going to be cutting them up to do the shifting thing, and like making full screen sometimes when we talk, the bare bones will already be there, so I'll be able to do it. So I'll test it out.
Yeah, and then also two things I was thinking about. So, for instance, like if let's say, for instance, everyone knows, you know, Newgard's Mike Newgard's. If you put a video up of me, the speaker that's beginning to speak would be me or Gentry. People that are scrolling by won't recognize that person, especially in the beginning, and will probably scroll past it because they're like, oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh, you're talking about when I post on the New Guards.
Well, like any of us. So like, let's say me or Gentry or whatever, the video that we each post on our page should be beginning with us. Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
So that the people know, oh, that's Fabian or whatever.
Right.
And,
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
And the second thing is, and this is, I guess, more on my end, is as far as like the template goes. I know that all social media platforms, they like it when it's more less graphics and more face. So like, for instance, there's the video that we've had, or the promo videos that we have, it's a video very small and the rest of the entire thing is just like graphics.
Yeah. You're saying more face.
Yes. Yeah.
So
more cowbell.
More cowbell. Yeah.
So I made that one video of all of us, where that one promo video where it's literally the whole screen is our face. You talking about like that?
Yeah, and but that's what I was saying.
Make more of those.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and then I mean, obviously, I really think
we're gonna test stuff out.
Exactly. And that's why I'm sitting further back so we can zoom it in a little better.
Yeah, looks good. All right. It still was fine with the other one. It's just it was a little zoomed in a little more for you.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty much at the same distance now.
Yeah.
So I need to
Gentry, you might want to get a backlight. Something like
backlight?
Yeah, something. Or
I'm horrible with lighting. I tried doing lighting. I couldn't
yeah, it's really hard. Like I have 3 lights around me right now. It's crazy. Lighting is it's the hardest thing.
With the blur though, it works actually, Gentry. I like it.
Yeah. The light you have,
we'll test stuff out as we go, right?
Oh, you have the ring light, right?
Yeah, I have a small ring light, and then I have a bigger one, and then I have 2 panels. Yeah.
Do you have like a mirror?
I just haven't set them up yet. What?
Oh, like, I mean, because a mirror reflects light. So sometimes even just having like a mirror, like if you have one in your house, just move it so it bounces off onto your side.
Interesting. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's so many little tricks that I've learned, even like aluminum foil or like anything reflective, basically.
That's some DIY stuff.
Yeah. Because I mean, all light is really the same. It's just how diffused.
Okay, let's do this, boys. And so who wants to start us off? Gentry, start us off this time.
Start us off?
Yeah.
With the intro?
No, just like we're you
can say episode 3. Episode 3, let's get into it. Welcome to episode 3, Breakaway USA. Let's get into it.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Breakaway USA podcast. Let's get into it.
Let's go, boys.
We got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Michael, you wanted to talk about Hawaii just to start us off.
Yeah, so we spoke a bit about Hawaii and Maui and Lahaina and the wildfires last week. Jesus, what am I doing over here? I don't need this actually. Sorry, but the wildfires last week. Yeah, exactly. That happened in 17 minutes and just decimated, a whole city.
Don't forget, it jumped in the ocean and it jumped across 400 yards or so of concrete.
Oh yeah, it was the first tornado fire that we've ever seen, or whatever the hell they called it, or a hurricane of fire. But so Josh Green, who is the governor of Hawaii, not long before that went to the UN and spoke about sustainability and how he wants Maui or Hawaii to lead the charge in the renewable energy sector and the 15-minute city nonsense. He went back to the UN and spoke after the fact recently. This was a couple weeks ago, and he pushed the slogan "Build Back Better." Biden did the same thing when he was there, and it just got me thinking of how a normal reaction to a tragedy like this, one of the most horrific tragedies in American history, not just Hawaiian history. I mean, there's over 1,000 kids missing. Is that right, Gentry? You know a bit more about this than me.
Yeah, there's I think it's documented that 700, but it's theorized that over 1,000 are missing.
Yeah, it's like this is horrific. This is not even we should be having national ceremonies and grievances, and families should be able to grieve, and it's less than a month later and they're talking about building back better. Like, if they're trying to hide the fact that they're doing this 15-minute city stuff or whatnot, they're not doing a very good job at it, right? If they're trying to combat this disinformation that's going around, they're literally just they don't care. They don't care that they're literally doing exactly what is being said that they're going to.
Well, you know what? One point to that is, I think, and I may be wrong on this, but it's, as far as I can remember, this is the first like really big national disaster, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it's being called, that we've had in the age of the new Twitter, where information can get out like that.
Yes.
Because since before this, I can't remember a time where we've been able to really talk about what's happening without being super censored. I mean, even in like Katrina, I know there were rumors in Katrina, but you really didn't have the level of insight. I mean, we have people that are traveling to Hawaii that are streaming live on Twitter, approaching the mayor and just questioning him hard. We have people like James O'Keefe, who was inside with the hidden camera, recording government officials saying, get the F out or something bad's going to happen to you. We have all these citizen journalists that are investigating and just reporting to other people, and we can all make up our minds, which I think is incredible. But so the reason why I think you may, you said they're not even really hiding it, is because maybe that's their game. Like, they haven't had to hide it before up until now, and they're figuring out, hey, people aren't that stupid anymore. We can't get stuff past them.
So what's really interesting about this whole concept of like renewable energy and the 15-minute cities, I'll just focus on the renewable energy part, because state by state, it's very different. So for example, Washington State, especially Western Washington, because we have so many rivers and dams, we could actually do it. But a majority of the states can't actually have this, renewable energy through water. So I feel like and I don't know the technology, right? But in Hawaii, because of all the waves and all the energy being created there's got to be a way to kind of have this renewable energy. So my thought is that they're trying to make Hawaii, right, in their own image of this 15-minute city, so that they can say, hey, this works in Hawaii, why won't it work in, Omaha? Right? Somewhere that's just the topography doesn't even match.
Just
right?
Blanket solutions, right?
Right.
Blanket
solutions.
That seems to be the name of the game for everything that they do, and that's actually kind of completely representative of their thinking. It's so unidimensional, and it's so not nuanced, and this discussion about climate change, Biden had a speech, I think it was the same one, where he was talking about climate change, and the same thing, this guy Josh Green, in the same conversation, in the same speech that he gave talking about Build Back Better, he just was like, yeah, we need to, we're now living climate change, and we have to. They all go on these rants about climate change. It's just a huge propaganda campaign around the world. Zelensky goes to the UN, talks about climate change. He's fighting a war. Like, how so there, beyond that, the actual discussion about climate change is literally carbon dioxide. That's it. That's all these people understand. And it's so much more complicated than that. It's not, and carbon dioxide isn't even, the concept of greenhouse gases is very flawed to begin with, and that's a whole nother discussion. But it's like this paradigm that they've been living under or that we've been living under in the scientific community for a long time. And this actually ties into Twitter, us being able to have the conversation now. People have been saying this for 10, 15 years. I mean, for a lot longer than that. But now that we have people conversing about it, everybody is awake to the fact that this climate narrative is a joke. The science is pseudoscientific.
Well, Gentry, do you want to fix that? I saw something like the light is kind of going over. It's like a tree or something.
Yeah.
I saw you looking at it weird, and I was like, oh, it looks cool.
Let's try. Yeah, it's cloudy today, and then the sun just decided to peek through the clouds. So
no, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks better.
All right, cool.
All right.
So just to finish that point, well, actually, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there was a climate enthusiast on Joe Rogan a few months ago. I can't remember his name, but he was defending the fact that there is climate change, and Joe was like, "Well, why don't we bring someone who is, a climate denier on the podcast, and we can debate?" And the guy the scientist said that he didn't want to debate it because the science is settled. And Joe was like, "Wait, hold on one second. The science is settled? What does that even mean? Like, is that even part of the scientific discovery? Like if you're right, then you can
Be
convince
super easy.
millions of people that you're right, and we should do this. But this other guy's making some really interesting points, and you're not even going to debate him. Why?" And my thought process, right, and I'm sure everyone else's thought process is, you don't want to debate if you know that you're wrong or you're lying or you're siding with the highest bidder.
Yeah,
What's
the beauty about science is that if it's a scientific fact, then it has to be objectively investigated and tried by people in different parts of the world with the exact same variables and come to the same conclusion. That's a scientific fact. And even in that case, facts change as knowledge of mathematics and physics advances. So even a scientific fact right now may not be a scientific fact later on. Anything less than that is clearly, a theory or a hypothesis or anything like that. But it's interesting that we're talking about all this climate change. So climate is essentially a study of weather over decades, right? That's what climate is. Weather is what's happening tomorrow or or what happened yesterday. So the fact that they've used this terminology, climate change, that's like saying money fluctuation, right? It's clearly it's changing all the time. There was never been a time in human history where climate has been static for decades and decades. It's just impossible. So technically, if you're looking at the just objective definition of climate change, yeah, it's happening. It's always happening, but but the problem is they're trying to convince us that it's happening because of CO2, and that's the issue.
So since we're boiling it down to science and what science actually is, science is, first of all, there's what it can be referred to right now as scientism. It has literally replaced people's ability to, well, so a lot of people have not been able to believe in religion for a long time. This goes back to Nietzsche saying God is dead. The Industrial Revolution, the Scientific Revolution, people started to, use their rational brains, and they no longer can believe in religion, and that led to the nihilism that we saw in the Soviet Union and blah blah blah. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this, but the hold on. Science ultimately is not a thing in itself. It's a method of inquiry. Science is a way of looking at things, and it's not something that can ever be definitive and final. Even the theory of relativity, Newtonian gravity, right? We thought that Newtonian gravity, which actually works, it works in a practical sense. Many things that we deal with, most things that we deal with on a human level, we deal with Newtonian physics. But when it goes to shooting rockets into space and nuclear fission and nuclear energy, we deal with Einstein's theory of relativity. And both of those are paradigms. So there's a book that was written called Structures of Scientific Revolution. And the idea behind that is that we have to work in paradigms. It goes beyond science too, to language. For us to be able to develop ideas, to communicate, we need to create a paradigm, which is our language. We need to have very clear, definitive words that mean things, and then go from there and build from there.
Well, and you see, the problem with
yeah.
that is postmodernism says that things really have no meaning unless you give them it. So it's beautiful the way it's beautiful in a sadistic way, the way postmodernism has become this foundation for leftism, wokeism, because no matter what you tell me, your definition that you believe is true, even though it may be scientifically proven with mathematics and physics and all this, to me, I don't believe it. And since postmodernism says that my subjective reality, my lived experience is the true reality. I don't have to acknowledge any facts that you give me. So I could believe that climate change is real. And even if you give me every single reason why it's wrong and not true, it doesn't matter to me. Right. I mean,
you just have to change the definition. That's it. And we've seen that happen with COVID over and over again. They change the goalpost. They move the goalpost. We see it happen with gender. That's how they do it. They make words malleable and make ideas malleable. And so they're constantly shifting the paradigm. But so we've been working under this paradigm for a long time. And they just, once a paradigm is cemented, like virology, for example, is another one of those that we can get into at some point. Climate science is the other one. Once those are cemented, it's so hard, especially when there's monetary implications, when there is money to be made. It's so hard to go to the foundation and find that the foundation is rotting. And the people that show that the foundation is not stable, right? It's built on a house of cards. Those are the people that just get attacked. They're deniers, and that whole shtick.
yeah,
exactly. So here's something really interesting that you brought up, is that 100% of scientists will agree with whoever's funding them. Right.
Yeah. It's crazy. And Fabian, you brought it up last time too. There's if Bill Gates is funding scientists that he wants to have a certain outcome with, if they don't basically kowtow to him and say, oh yes, this is what's happening, climate change is real, and then okay, on to the next guy who's going to get the funding. Same thing with the government.
And to put it into a more layman's terms, imagine a sugar daddy and a sugar baby going on a date, right? The sugar daddy has the money. The sugar baby wants the sugar baby wants to ensure her residual. So she's going to say whatever she thinks the sugar daddy wants to hear to keep him paying. There's no difference between what's happened in the scientific community and what happens on an everyday basis. I mean, it doesn't have to be a sugar daddy, just a regular date. But kind of going back to what you were saying, Mike, about people's subjective opinions and facts or whatever, is if you want to keep people from talking, and if you want to make people not be able to understand each other, what do? You change the definitions of every word so that it's all subjective, so that what I believe is a definition of one word, you believe something else, then it's impossible for us to communicate. The only reason why we're having this conversation is because we've all agreed on what certain words mean. If we didn't agree on that, then we couldn't have a conversation. And that's what I believe is happening in the world right now, where, you see civil discussion almost fall to historic lows, at least in the US, that's for damn sure. So that's what's happening. It's postmodernism inserted into like neo-Marxism. And this is a result.
Yeah, it's cool, but also scary to see that, Jordan Peterson in 2016, have you guys been following him for a long time? Jordan Peterson?
I think I started watching him in 2018.
Okay.
In
2016, he was 2016, he was still a teacher. He was still a professor at the University of Toronto. And the thing that got him, notoriety was that he was opposing these mandates by the Ontario government to essentially mandate speech with regards to transgender pronouns. What he wasn't saying, I'm not gonna, if you want me to call you he and you're she, or vice versa, if you ask me that, I'm fine with doing that, right? But for it to be mandated, for us to mandate things that are nonsensical, that like it goes to this Supreme Court justice as well. We spoke about it last podcast, but the Supreme Court justice who can't answer what a woman is. If we start to play that game, what does the law mean? Right? Like, and that's another problem. This ties into another thing. Like, we're very tangential, and we're gonna have to get back to where we started. But this ties into these activist judges, not actually activist judges and activist prosecutors choosing which criminals to prosecute, choosing how to interpret the law, instead of being, constitutionalists and people that are like, the judge is not supposed to interpret the law based on their prejudices. They're supposed to interpret the law in the spirit of the law and by jurisprudence and by the history of common law. That's not happening. They're literally making up as they go. So instead of the senates and the legislatures making the laws, the judges are now making laws essentially, and the prosecutors are now changing the laws, and they know that. That's why George Soros funded all these DAs. So it's a slippery slope. Jordan Peterson starts off with this one thing. You can't mandate speech, and then to see where it's come, he's essentially predicted everything that would happen after that. Everything that would happen after that, like this is the point we've gotten to. It's scary to see, but it's like it's so predictable if you study history, right? It's not the first time this has happened.
Well, no, this isn't the first time it's happened. In fact, they're changing the definition of a domestic terrorist right now. I don't know if you guys want to get into this right now, but there was a Newsweek article that says, here's the headline, exclusive, Donald Trump followers targeted by FBI as 2024 election nears. And essentially what the article goes on to say is that
Right.
the FBI has deemed MAGA followers as domestic terrorists, and that they always resort to violence, and they cite January 6th. But they conveniently forget, the FBI conveniently forgets everything that happened in 2020, 2021, 2022, and even 2023, as we're seeing riots break out in all these cities. I mean, the FBI is the new KGB.
Yeah, the left has done a very good job of infiltrating institutions in government that were once deemed, at the top of the apex by conservatives, at the FBI, the DOJ. I mean, you name it, and they've infiltrated it, and they've done a very good job. And now it's like the people who don't trust the government are conservatives, and the people who do trust the government are the leftists, which is it's insane to see how it's happened. And I don't think it took too long. I mean, I can't remember. I mean, to this point, I can't remember a time in the past, unless we were just very stupid, which may be the case, that they weaponized the government to this level. I don't think that we've seen anything of this level, of this magnitude that we're seeing now. And because it's blatant. I mean, you literally have the judge that's prosecuting, or rather that's overseeing the trial against Trump smile on camera. You're seeing the prosecutor mean mugging him like he stole her lunch. It's crazy. It is crazy.
And it's so blatant. It's so like there's no objectivity left. But so hopefully, I mean, what needs to happen is once real conservatives or real Republicans and not rhinos take back control, if elections are fair, it's inevitable to me, right? But whatever. We need to have real investigations, and what Vivek is talking about, gut these huge bureaucracies, gut the education department, the FBI, the CIA. They're rogue institutions that are being directed by people that don't have our best interest at heart, that are obsessed with their ideology of gender and diversity and climate change and all this nonsense. And we've spoken about it before. It's hard to know what of it they actually believe and what of it is being used to control people and to gain control, to gain power. It's hard for me to see. Like, I think that the politicians, Trudeau, this guy Josh Green, Zelensky, Biden, they're literally just like, what's their foundation educationally? It's social studies, right? Like Justin Trudeau literally is incompetent. Anyways, so they don't have the capacity to even think.
I was went down that Justin Trudeau route right now. I can tell that.
No. I'm not going there. But they don't have the capacity to think further than carbon dioxide. They can't have a conversation. I would love to hear Justin Trudeau debate somebody about climate change. He's so sure about this. He's so sure that the world's coming to an end because of fossil fuels, which is a misnomer, which we can get into. But they're so sure. Have a debate about it in Parliament. There's never. It's all platitudes. It's all attacks. Have a debate about climate change. If you're gonna send billions of dollars to wherever, and if you're going to change our whole economy and literally cut us at the knees in Alberta, for example, where they're literally stopping them from producing oil, at least have debates about it and don't say, only stupid people don't believe in climate change. It's
Yeah, I think what it comes
baffling.
down to is transparency. And I said this last time.
Mm.
And right now we talk a lot about the stuff the Democrats are doing because it's been overtaken by this leftist agenda, which is not democratic. It's not in any way, shape, or form anything that anyone in as a moderate would ever want to do. But so we talk a lot about the Democrats, but the Republicans in Congress are just as bad as the Democrats in Congress, right? Or rather, in politics.
Most of them, most of
Yes,
them.
exactly. There's always going to be those people. So,
Yeah.
what I would love to see is there's a lot of investigation into what the leftists are doing, by proxy inside of the Democratic Party. But what I would love to see is every single person be held to the same standard. Every single person have someone say, "Look, yeah, that's not going to fly anymore because I have Twitter, and I can tell everyone what you're doing, and everyone will see." So I would love to see politicians on both sides of the aisle. Now, when I say conservative, I mean people, the conservative people as a whole, not politicians. I feel like it's completely two separate entities, right? You have rhinos or whatever you call them, but you also have just politicians who are obsessed with their own self worth and pompous kind of attitude and their wealth and all that. So I would love to see everyone get held under the same exact microscope for once, remove all censorship, and just let people do what they do. Which people are very smart. Like that's the one thing that I've been learning, and it brings me hope that people, you can't pull a rug past them anymore. They're super smart. And wrestling, we call them smart marks, where they know the game, so you can't get stuff past them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that accountability happened this week in a historic removal of the Speaker of the House.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. I mean, this is crazy on a lot of levels. Number one, because it's never happened before. And number two, because it looks from the outside looking in like the Republican Party is in shambles,
It's
right?
divided, yeah.
Like Democrats are looking at us like, what are you doing? Liberals, like the liberal base is like the Republicans just aren't going. But I think what's really interesting is that the base, and this kind of dovetails into what you were saying, Fabian, like the base of the conservative movement is done with rhinos. And I think what we're seeing is there's a lot
Huge.
more of these rhinos that are playing ball with Democrats than we realized.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so basically everyone that voted against the removal of Kevin McCarthy in this motion, right, their jobs are in jeopardy, and there's a huge opportunity to come in and take over the Republican Party. And I think Trump is kind of setting himself up to help a lot if he does become speaker, right? There's a lot of talk about that.
I mean, that would be
um,
that would be the ultimate FU, because what I was reading, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that they can't prosecute him if he's a Speaker of the House. So all those trials just kind of, not that they can't prosecute him, but the trials cannot progress during the time that he's a Speaker of the House. Therefore, if he does it for, let's say, 100 days, he can still campaign during that time without having to be in court every day.
That would be amazing.
So I think that's the angle. And during that time, he can come to a resolution of the debt. He can try to help fix the problems, not even being the president. Fix the border wall.
Do you know the process, Gentry, of how he would become Speaker of the House? Like, how does that process work?
From my understanding, he just needs the votes. He needs to submit some documentation. You don't actually have to be part of the House to become the Speaker of the House, which I think is
beautiful. And I love it.
It's really an amazing rule. But so he can balance the debt, he can get a lot of stuff on track, but he can also impeach Biden.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then go ahead and impeach Kamala Harris, right? So there's some question about Kamala Harris's eligibility to become president because of where she was born. which I don't know how you would become vice president if there was some question about that, right? Because you are second in line. So I'm not sure what the validity of those arguments are.
What's
But
the what's the argument? I actually haven't heard this about where she was born.
so yeah, apparently she was born in Jamaica. Now don't quote me on that because I said apparently. So there is some question about the eligibility of that. I think there's some like legal workaround that they made, but because there is question, it will be questioned, right?
Mm,
So
interesting.
There's no
yeah,
way she's president. There's no way. She's not even
I
likable
don't.
on their side.
I mean,
Her cackles,
she
oh my God, Jesus.
she speaks in gypsy rhymes, right? In gypsy curses, like Tim Dillon said.
And
She speaks in
that's one of the
rhyme.
funniest things that Trump said in his interview with Tucker too. She's like, I don't know what the heck she's saying. It's like
Well, it's just
it's
she
like,
says random stuff and then she starts laughing really loudly and then she says
Mhm.
it's like
and
this.
she
That's
thinks
all it
she gets
is.
away with it. No, it's silly.
Or she says something dumb and she laughs really loud and says, "Well,
I think we all
Yeah.
know how she got to where she got. I think we all know how she kind of climbed the ladder.
yeah, going back to the
Yeah,
sugar
she was
daddy
on her
dates,
knees and it wasn't praying.
Sugar daddy days.
sugar daddy dates over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
That's what
We
I
might
call
have
a
to
social ladder climber. That's for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
live in Hollywood, so I see them all the time, and she's a
good
prime
on her
example
for
of
that, I guess.
yeah, I guess
Because
I call them
she definitely didn't get there for her competence. That's 100%.
no. Even when she was elected here in California, she didn't say a lot. I mean, clearly she's not at the level that she's at now, but even then you're like, there's really nothing there. It's just a puppet.
It's crazy. It's like, are these people? They're so not profound in terms of thinkers. Like, how do we have these? They're
I know
just
exactly why, because they fit
exactly.
the
They're
boxes.
handpicked. They're
Yeah,
handpicked exactly.
and they have
That's why
marketing
Trudeau.
companies make
Yeah,
them look good.
I keep going back to
Mm.
Trudeau, but so just Jordan Peterson made a video this week, and he said this a long time ago. It's like Justin Trudeau should never, if he was a person with dignity, with integrity, he never would have run, because the only reason that he was handpicked to run was because of his name. It was because of name recognition, because he kind of looks good in front of the camera, and that's it. He has no other competencies. He was a elementary school teacher. He got kicked out of there because of some scandal with some underage kids. He was there for like a year. This guy was completely, and then they say that Trump was unqualified for the job. It's like, look around, like look at what Biden has done his whole career. You're going to tell me like Trump? So at the beginning of 2016, when Trump first came down the escalator, there was the discussion about Trump being a businessman, and on the Republican side of the aisle, we're like, yeah, that's what we need. We need to run America as a business, right? Like, to a certain extent, we need to balance the budget. We need to. So you're perfectly qualified as a CEO of a company, as a businessman, right? But then the left took that and they weaponized that, saying, "Oh, he's a businessman. We don't need a business." It's like, what? To me, it's clear that I would rather somebody like Trump, like Kevin O'Leary in Canada, to run the country, as opposed to somebody who is just some gender studies major, right?
Well, and someone who can also be bought too, right? I think one of the
Right.
things that we found out with Kevin McCarthy is that he was funneling money from donors into his own pocket,
Of course.
like straight up. But then he's also kind of the linchpin, it looks like, to all the aid to Ukraine, right? There's I think it was Slovakia. Slovakian
Yep.
Populist Party pledged to end all aid to Ukraine, which I think is pretty interesting, because we stopped aid to Ukraine because of the government shutdown. Now Kevin McCarthy's out, and Slovakia, and I'm pretty sure a couple other countries are stopping aid to Ukraine.
Hungary has stopped to begin with. Viktor Orban is a beauty,
Yeah,
and
yeah, beauty.
He's a beauty. Turkey, there's what's the guy's name? Erdogan.
Yeah.
He also is a populist leader. You have what's her name in Italy, Meloni. But so there's populist movements happening all around, all across Europe, but it's because they're seeing their countries be destroyed. Did you guys saw this thing in Italy, Lampedusa, the island that had 5,000 residents on it, and they're literally like, there's German ships in the Mediterranean Sea shipping people from
NGO ships. So I heard that they were
it's like
shipped
it's systematic
NGOs,
though.
picking them up, dropping them off.
NGOs,
It's like a ferry.
of course. NGOs, oh my God, we're gonna have to have a long talk about NGOs another day, but I think they should be banned. I think that they should be literally like eradicated. They are the biggest tool that the Open Society Foundation uses to weaponize and have movements on the ground. And Hungary, the George Soros's country of birth, has banned George Soros from entering, first of all. Second of all, they've banned all NGOs related to him and all NGOs. I believe they banned all NGOs, but definitely all related to him. Russia as well. Open Society Foundation cannot operate in Russia. They know that he is literally just taking this money, funneling this money that he gets from wherever, and then puts it into NGOs. They go and pay Antifa to. How are these people rioting and protesting for all this time?
Well,
they don't have jobs.
How are they so organized right away as soon as something happens? They're out there. You're like, hold on a second. It's been 4 hours. How do you get this mass of people to just go out there when something just happened? Right? It just doesn't make sense.
So NGO boats are shipping these people systematically to European countries, right? That's
that's what I've read. I mean, as far as people doing investigations and taking pictures of the boat and then tracking back the boats to who I mean, it's not hard to figure out who owns what now. I mean, that kid on Twitter was tracking Elon Musk's jet. You know, it's just a teenager was publicly. So I think OSINT, or open source information, or rather open source intelligence, is one of the most incredible things that we've, come to utilize, because we have the power now that literally the CIA and only governments had in the past, where anyone can purchase satellite pictures, anyone can purchase anything that people would have to, drive YouTube planes or fly YouTube planes above and then drop the film off, get it, take it back, and then develop it. So you can buy satellite footage of anywhere in the world now, and you can determine, or you can figure out what's happening, a buildup of troops. You can't hide anything anymore, right? If you're going to go on, let's say you're Russia and you're going to go on an offensive in the north, or Ukraine or any other country, you can't hide that anymore, because your tanks are out in the open. Someone just take a picture. Oh, you know what? Guess what? And there's a lot of companies that do this because it's so much cheaper to get satellites into space, especially, with the ability of camera and the optics to, they're a lot more enhanced. And now actually you don't even have to take a picture of the land. If it's cloudy, that was one of the biggest detriments to satellite imagery, which was if there's clouds, you can't see the ground. Well, now they have satellites that use, I don't know if it's
or the
infrared. Yeah, one of those radio waves that just bounce off the ground and it gets through. So you can't hide anything now. And anyone, even us, we can go purchase a picture of any satellite, or rather of any part of the ground, through a satellite company. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Well, why don't they use that to get information, data on all these immigrants that are coming into, it seems like, every country all at once,
and they're all military age. That video you posted is so poignant. That video is going to explode, or I'm sure it has on TikTok or something. Yeah, but that woman is so on point. She's
so on point. But kind of going back to the Antifa thing, where literally George Floyd died, and then the next weekend every single city was rioting. Like, it's coordinated,
so organized. Yeah, for sure.
It's coordinated. We're seeing NGOs drop people off, and like that
island, bricks, water bottles, frozen water bottles.
Right. That island in Italy, they dropped off like 5,000-6,000 people, and the population of the island is 5,000-6,000 people. Like,
I think they're at 10,000 now.
Here's the thing: it wasn't like these African immigrants were like, "Hey, take me to Lampedusa," right? Like, how would you even know?
I'm Italian. I've never heard of Lampedusa.
Never heard of it. So it's not like it's random. Like, hey, look at that island. Let's all go there, guys. Tell the captain.
Yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah.
How Italy is. What's that from? Is that Jack Sparrow?
No, that's not Jack Sparrow. That's the one from the Somali Pirates. Tom Hanks. I can't remember what it's called.
Not Castaway.
No, not Castaway.
Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so with this video of this woman that you posted, explaining or at least commenting on where are all the women and children. These are refugees. Where are all the women and children?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple question, but it goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like something weird is happening here.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like an invasion,
Mm-hmm.
and a coordinated invasion.
Mm-hmm.
To what end? To what end?
Yeah, I mean, what easier way to cause chaos in the population and elevate crime and make people seem racist than just drop a bunch of immigrants off in their country and then let them start, speaking out against the immigrants, and then you can peg them as being racist or xenophobic, and then the ADL can go after you, and then you could be labeled a suppressive person, or the FBI can come after you, and you can have all your stuff monitored because they changed the definition of what domestic terrorists mean, and now
What
because
a
you
joke
posted
world
some,
we're in, man.
it's a snowball effect, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but you can see how easily they can go after.
But what
anyone
about
who's out
Martha's Vineyard? What about when they had all those illegal immigrants go to Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah, you never heard about them. I think they all disappeared.
I hope
They
not.
got disappeared.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, they got Jeffrey Epstein there. I hope not. But no,
Mhm.
They got Obama's cooked.
oh fuck, Jesus. Okay. Quick note. Obama's actually no. I don't want to go there. Eric Adams now in New York is the connection that I'd like to make here. It's fine. It's all fine and dandy to promote illegal immigration, and we want immigration, and we want open borders, except for when it comes into your backyard, huh? Except for when you experience it firsthand. And that is, I think, the universal phenomena that we're seeing, is that these virtue signaling, highbrowed, elitist, university grads, whatever, that think that they're geniuses and think that everybody else are rednecks and stupid. These people that are pushing these things that they have no connection with whatsoever, that they don't feel the repercussions for. Thomas Sowell talks about this a lot. If intellectuals felt the repercussions of their policies that they promote, they would all be conservatives easily, and they would all reverse their policies. They suffer no consequence. Same thing with climate change. None of these people suffer the consequences of their ridiculous policies. The 15-minute cities in London is killing the middle class and killing the poor because they need to drive their car. They can't afford to pay 20 pounds every time they want to drive into London. It's decimating, or it's destroying the middle class.
Well, and one thing that London already has is they have what's called, like, what they call, like, the London Eye. So they have more cameras in their country, or especially in London, rather, in the city, than any other city other than anywhere in China. But you can't go anywhere in London. Yeah, you can't go anywhere in London without having a camera on you. That's how I remember those two buses that
talk about
that blew
Big
up.
Brother. Jesus.
Yeah. I remember those two buses that got blown up. I think like 2014, 2015 in London. The two big double-decker buses, and then there were some explosions inside of the subway. They caught all those guys right away because
even 2014.
Even back then. And now what China is doing is I did a deep dive in a few videos about this. But
China's copying London. Don't tell me China's
London's copying China. So
okay.
China is exporting all of their facial recognition cameras and all of their AI systems to track people to Africa, to South America, and even parts of Eastern Europe. Because how else can you think about it? If you have, especially a third world country, there's a lot of rampant crime and things like that. If you want order, instead of having a bunch of police that you probably can't trust because they're probably paid off by a cartel or a drug lord or some kind of warlord, rather, you implement these cameras. So for China, it's big business because they're exporting their model all around the world. And it's people are buying it because as a leader, you want China to play nice. So you want their high interest but easy to get money, and you want order. So they're exporting this stuff, and guess who's getting all this data and analytics? China. The same way how they've spread TikTok all over the place, and it's basically their spyware. They're shipping these cameras all over the place. So it's big business for them.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's scary.
Speaking of China, did you guys see that they did not? I didn't actually see this myself. I heard about it, so it's hearsay. So I don't know if it's true, but the vaccines they took, I can't even see the word, the shots that they took,
The ouchie Fauci's.
The ouchie Fauci's, I like that. The ouchie Fauci's weren't mRNA. They were something else completely. Did you hear about that?
No, but I
No?
mean, it it doesn't surprise me. It's China
Oh,
we're
okay.
I
talking about
mean
now.
that happened here at the very beginning. Johnson and Johnson was a shot
Wasn't?
that a lot of people took up here, and it was not mRNA.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Okay, just a side note. But so
Yeah.
going back to what I would call it is the democratization of the internet. And Michael Malice talks about this. Michael Malice is an anarchist. Do you guys know him?
No.
no.
He's an anarchist, but he is like a modern day anarchist and kind of makes a good argument for anarchy as the extension of libertarianism. But that's a whole nother story. But so he was one of the first people. Like it's easy to be pessimistic about and cynical about the direction that we're headed in. But like you're saying, Fabian, both of you, like you're saying, Twitter is, allowing for citizen journalism on a level that we've never seen before. We are able to get information out like that, and they're not able to cover things up anymore. There's a lot less things that are happening in the shadow. We have a lot more ability to organize and to, create little communities that I think we have. The Second Amendment gives us the right to create militias, right? That instantiates that right, and that is, I think we need to be ready for that, because that's another story. But so the democratization of the internet and of technology, the satellites and whatnot, this is I think that it's inevitable that they won't be able to keep up with it anymore.
Well,
We'll be able to keep up with the adapting.
that.
Exactly. They won't be able. So Parler is a good example. Remember Parler, the app?
Yeah.
When it first came out, and this was the first kind of, I think, parallel society, parallel economy, breakaway, app technology that, see what I did there? The first breakaway technology that conservatives were like, all right, you're going to censor Twitter, you're going to censor Facebook, we're going to do our own thing. Well, it happened that it was on Amazon Web Services, so they were able to cut it right out. But then we learned and we adapted the same way nature does, which is a beautiful thing. And that's why the free market is so beautiful and so effective. And now we have our own servers. Now we understand that we have to be completely parallel, completely separate to what they're doing, because otherwise they can just destroy us from the roots.
Well, let me take that one step further, and because I am part of a cryptocurrency project called BankX. I'm privy to a lot of the stuff that people are building, and it's really, really incredible. It's really incredible. So what they've done now,
what is it? It's called BankX.
BankX, yeah. But I'm actually going to talk about the technology of blockchain and how it helps transparency and immutability. So you're right. You can go to Amazon and say, "Hey, plug this," or take it off the internet. It's happened with a lot of stable coins that were on exchanges, right? Like Uniswap. The government said, "Hey, take this off, take these stable coins off," like Monero, which we keep saying the Mexican cartel is using to move money around.
That's what they were saying, or
yes, that's what they were.
Happening?
That's. I mean, I'm sure who knows what's happening. I think a little bit of everything, but
yeah.
So they said, take off these stable coins off your exchange, or else we're going to shut you down completely. So either because the transferring of money is on the blockchain, right? But the front end, how you access those is through the internet. They can simply take off the website, and then you can't interact with the blockchain anymore. You have to have that middleman, that front customer-facing portal. So they removed all these stable coins.
It's still there though. It's
just but if you can't move it,
access
it's like
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
You can't get to it.
Gotcha.
So what they've done now is there's something called unstoppable domains. So it's web hosting that's tied to the blockchain. So essentially you can't remove it. So if you democratize the blockchain even more, you essentially get what's almost like a P2P. Remember LimeWire and all this stuff where everyone donates a little bit of the file, right? So you can host and provide capability for these
Beautiful.
websites to exist, and there's no central point to go shut it down at. And that's what I think they're very afraid of. And I think that goes, well, that's in part why people like, the CIA and all these organizations have infiltrated cryptocurrency and kill, or make disappear. You probably want to cut that part out. There's a lot of people in crypto that disappear that are part of these massive projects, either that, or they have bank runs, or they have these flash loan attacks, or they have these hacks. Because if this really takes off and you allow people to just allow their minds to create, you would create something where every single thing can't ever be hidden, ever. Every single thing anyone does is, let's say politicians, right? If it lives on a blockchain, I can easily go and get what you said, what you did on this day. If you're a servant of the, if you're a servant of the people, and they make that the rule. But it's beautiful what blockchain is doing. And I think the next few generations is really going to change the way everything's done.
It's Gentry, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think
I didn't want to cut you off. I wasn't sure if you were saying something. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to dovetail off of blockchain, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry. And also, Mike, you might want to cut off the BankX thing, because we're decentralizing the front end. So like, no one's
I'll get rid of it.
Yeah, it's going to live by itself.
Okay. I was trying to give you a plug there.
No. I wanted to, but I was talking to the creator, and like, definitely when it comes out, we're gonna have people that are really unhappy, officials, because they can't stop it. So that's why I've been distancing myself from it. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So internet transparency and democratization.
It's a hard word to say, huh?
It is a really hard word to say. My dyslexia comes out, but it's a really good thing on the other side, because now we're seeing what people are really thinking, and when they get fired up, they just say the quiet part out loud. So there's this quote tweet, leading report tweeted, breaking: Florida Senate committee has unanimously passed a bill that would give the death penalty to those who commit sexual crimes against children. Okay. And there was a quote tweet by this he, she, it, they person, Penny, and she said, the amount of people not understanding this is going to be used to kill trans and queer people is making me lose my mind.
So it's more than a microaggression, I'm assuming, to that person.
I mean, so the bill says that they're going to use the death penalty for sex crimes against kids. And then this other person is saying that the queer and the trans community is going to be killed because of it. So
it's simple logic.
In my mind, it's an admission of guilt. In my mind, it's like saying the quiet part out loud. Like, that's what the trans and queer community is doing. Not all of them, but a majority.
Or at least that's where they're headed. Right now, people are like, I don't know what the word could be for, like, being attracted, or they're minor attracted people.
Yeah, MAPs. Right?
MAPs.
Oh, like, what is but so well, it's yeah, no, insane. So I think you're right. It's an admission of guilt, but in a weird way, it's just like they don't understand how conflicting these things are within themselves. It's like you're yes. I don't even know how to.
Well, it's I get why they said it. Whoever this person is because they try to victimize themselves even more. Like, look at us, we're going to be genocided even harder, right? And it's just incredible to me that they're using the term genocide, because like genocide is reserved for genocides, and I don't have to tell you which genocides. Like, everybody knows when I say the word genocide, you immediately think of one main one. So if anyone in the right mind thinks that trans people are being genocided, like, that's incredible. That's like saying that me drinking some water is destroying the ecosystem of the Pacific Ocean, right? It just doesn't make logical sense. But yeah, I think a lot of things are going to come out, and they are. And if you're attracted to children and you're afforded this ability to be close to children, if you just put makeup on and you talk in a funny voice, like, how many pictures have we seen of like men dress as women using the women's bathroom or around women, and they have like a hard on, and it's poking out of the dress, and people literally take pictures of it. Like, these are perverts that are using this pass go card to go do extremely perverted things. And I mean, we're seeing more now how widespread this pedophilia is. It's such a weird thing, man. It's super weird.
Well, this pass go card, or this get out of jail free card, is closing quick because people are starting to understand the severity of this, right? It's not just, I'm gonna, do me and it's fine. The classic libertarian mindset's like, I'm gonna do me, you do you, like, let's not cross any lines, right? But I think that the misnomer there, or the misguided thought there, is that evil exists, and evil doesn't stop itself, so it must be stopped. And evil has this idea that it has to spread, right? And there's this whole concept of like trans and the gay community, they can't reproduce, and so they have to appropriate kids, right? They have to appropriate, and they try doing it with people, right? There's all these stories about, gay guys trying to turn straight guys, but it's a lot easier to target kids because they're so malleable, right? They're learning everything all at once, and so if they hear something, they're going to take it as truth, and they're just appropriating kids. It's I get so fired up about this. Like, I'm actually all for the death penalty when it comes to sex crimes against kids. I mean, that's even a biblical thing. It says that it says in Matthew, Jesus says it's better for someone to have a millstone tied around their neck and thrown into the sea than to lead one of these little ones away from me, right? It and that's the only time he talks about capital punishment in the New Testament, and it's about crimes against kids. Like, I get so fired up about this.
Yeah, and I think that maybe one of the reasons why the left has attacked children so hard is because if clearly they don't like religion, and if they can allow people to be okay with what they're doing to children, then they are literally going against what, like as you said, that's the only time it talks about capital punishment. If they can get you to waver on that point, which the Bible clearly says it is what it is, then you're essentially a broken Christian, right? You don't fight for what the Bible says, and then if you can't fight for that, what else won't you fight for? So it's like this constant little picking away. I forget who says this, and I don't know if it was Jordan. I think it may have been Jordan Peterson, but I think he asked one of his guests. He's like, "Where's the line? Like, where's the line that you draw that if the left crosses it, here's enough is enough?" It's like, because what they're doing is they're constantly like pushing that line forward and forward, and you're accepting it, so you're letting them do this. And I can't hear you, Mike. I think the lapel died.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it died. They're constantly testing the boundary, pushing the limit, and seeing when you're going to resist, and then they pull back, and then they push the limits more. I mean, that there's a clip of that of Joe Rogan saying that on there's a clip of that of Jordan Peterson saying that on Joe Rogan, and him going through that. And it's like, how does tyranny form? How do we go from democracy or republics to tyranny? It's one small step at a time, and it's one push at a time. And we saw that through COVID. They pushed masks, we resisted, they let it go for a bit. Then they pushed, 6 meters, 6 feet apart. And then it got to curfews. It got to concentration camps, essentially, in Australia. One step at a time, right? You can't just go immediately from, oh, there's a virus, to let's make COVID camps. It's one tiny step at a time. And so one thing I'd like to briefly talk about gay marriage then, if you guys can follow this thought with me. It's a similar thing. And what a guy that I watched his video, he comments on Joe Rogan's discussion with Matt Walsh and gay marriage. And basically what he's suggesting is that it's a slippery slope when you start with gay marriage, and it's almost inevitable to get to where we are now with this trans stuff. And then with, so when you don't hold your ground and keep your morals here, that is a slippery slope that will inevitably it will inevitably get to there. And I'm not, but gay marriage is a weird one. I don't understand why, like marriage, the union is. I would have said in the past that I was like indifferent about gay marriage, but the word marriage implies a union between a man and a wife for the purpose of procreation. So if the gay community, the gay people want to have a union, call it something else. Like why do you have to appropriate marriage? Like you can have a union. We don't care what you do.
Religious appropriation. Under the leftists, that would be something very bad to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is how we have to take the language back. This is how they weaponize language, and we have to do it.
When back. You said that, it's just
yeah, right. So they took like why do they need to be married? Why do they need to be like? We have a definition of the word marriage. Why we allow that to change? The slippery slope from there. It's one of those things that if you don't hold your ground, everything else follows. And I'm all for. My girlfriend's warning me that I'm yelling. Sorry, am I yelling, guys?
No, keep yelling, dude.
Okay, keep it up. Sorry, babe. I got to do this. So I'm all for gay people being, united in some form of matrimony, or I don't know if matrimony is the same thing. It's some form of union, but do your own thing. Like, why do you want to take this? That's something that is thousands of years old and has a set definition. So that's kind of.
I saw a meme that goes along with what you're saying, and I mean personally, I don't care what anyone does as long as they're an adult and they do it and they don't try to, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it's funny. So there's a meme I just saw, and I know we've talked about memes. It's what 5th generation warfare, but it's incredible. So the meme says, conservatives treat babies like a factory, where you just pump them out, and you don't, you just pump them out. And then it has a picture of 2 gay guys, and there's a lady standing behind them that's carrying their child, and it says like, hold on a second, guys. They treat
really mothers good. As factories. You mean treat mothers as factories, like baby making factories?
Yeah, like conservatives just use babies as like, but then
like farming. Like we have kids so that they can work on the farm.
Yeah, but then it has a lady that's having a kid for 2 gay guys, but the lady's in the back and she's pregnant, and the gay guys are like, we're so happy we're gonna have a kid, but they're using the lady as just a vehicle to get a kid. Never mind, cut that out.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I wish I.
So you're saying that the left views families as a baby factory, but then the left is also using women as a baby factory.
Yeah.
They also want
transgender or gay
abort,
people, whatever.
They also want to abort all these other kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we could go back to the trans thing a little bit, because I've got another snippet from Tucker Carlson show. He had a guy named Chris Moritz on, who is really well versed in this stuff, and there's a transcript of part of the video here. It says, Tucker Carlson, so you said that there are 2 big manufacturers of puberty blockers. Chris Moritz says, well, there's several. The leading pharmaceutical players in this space are Pfizer and a company called AbbVie Pharmaceuticals. Tucker says, Pfizer, what does Pfizer make? Moritz says, Pfizer makes testosterone, estrogen, and puberty blockers. Primarily, though, it's testosterone and estrogen. I want to stipulate that the overall sales to these product lines within pharmaceutical companies are relatively small because the number of patients is very small. There's 300,000 transgender youth, 13 through 17, in the United States. Here's where it gets interesting, though. He goes on to say that's number
an insane number.
No, hang on. That number has doubled over the last 5 years, from 2017 being 150,000 to 300,000 by 2020. So the 2023 numbers haven't even come out yet. So this segment of 13 to 17-year-old transgender kids who are unbelievably misguided, and I don't even think should be blamed for this because
No,
I
it's
mean
not.
their parents and their
They're
therapists and their
kids.
doctors are basically grooming them into this, but the number has grown double in the past 5 years.
Mm.
As a
Yeah.
business, that's great to hear. If you're in the business of doing this to
Oh, yeah.
children,
Right.
your market has increased drastically, doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Bet David has goes through the percentages from one generation to the next that identified as LGBT whatever, and it was like 1% in the generation that was born in the 40s or whatever, and then now it's gotten to 20% of kids identify as being somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah.
20% of kids in America. But
There's-
so I feel like at some point, like we have to acknowledge that this is a war. Like there's a war going on to completely destroy and feminize an entire generation of children, or not feminized, just deranged to a certain extent, right? Like gender dysphoria is a mental illness. We're promoting mental illness in children. What kind of society, like what kind of adults do this? What kind of free thinking, cognizant, intelligent, critical thinking adults do this? They don't. The answer is they don't.
Yeah, I think there's a few things of that. First, I wanted to say about the numbers. It's cool to be queer now, right? In a lot of places, right? It's like if you're a kid, oh yeah, I'm different, I'm cool, I'm in with the cool thing, right? And
the kids are all constantly looking for validation.
Yes, so I think those numbers, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I believe that they're overinflated just because kids don't want to. Oh yeah, I'm queer, whatever, or Second is
yes,
I'm
but
curious
it's telling
see,
though. It's telling
yeah,
of
yeah,
what's
absolutely.
being pumped into them.
Yeah. Second, I'd like to see in a few years when all these kids hit puberty, the ones that are allowed to hit puberty and don't have puberty blockers, how many of them just become normal again? Just like, not really for me. It was cool 3 years ago. I mean, we know how quickly kids get into fads and how fads, go away. So I don't know if the people who are perpetrating this or pushing it so hard understand this and say, well, you know what, we might get 30% of all the people who say that they're trans, but they'll be whatever or queer for the rest of their lives. And now we have that army to indoctrinate the next generation and the next generation. And the second thing is, imagine, and you brought up a good point, and I was talking to the psychotherapist about this, and she said that mental health cases have increased 300% since, I believe, it's just an astronomical number since 2017. So if you're the pharmaceutical company, you diagnose these children with mental
full
illness.
circle. Oh my God.
You give them all these medicines for mental illness, which makes me even, crazier. Then you say, well, it's not the medicine, it's you. Let's give you these puberty blockers and all this just so you're making so much money. You're corrupting these children, giving them medicine, making money off it. Then you're giving them more medicine, and then you're possibly transitioning them, and you're getting a cut of all this. It's something like, and I don't know how many billions of dollars this industry is, but it's just insane what they've done.
Well, I think the lifetime value of a customer for a pharmaceutical company for someone who transitions is something like $1.5 million.
So what did
over
you
the
just say?
lifetime.
What did you just call? What did you just say? You said the
lifetime value of a customer. Yeah,
I'm sure that they probably use terminology like that.
Well, that's a marketing term I use
because they're a business.
Yeah, that's the LTV, customer lifetime value.
It's a marketing term, but for it to be used in the pharmaceutical industry, and it's not surprising. And I'm just pointing it out that's how they, we have all these memes of like, why cure a patient because they're no longer than a patient, right? Like something along those lines. We need to declare war on pharmaceutical companies.
Well, and to piggyback onto that point, there's a company called Clover, and it's a healthcare company that's using AI to essentially get massive analytics, and then determine if, let's say you're 30 years old and you're 5'8" and 180 pounds, and you have all these, this is what your blood work looks like. It compares you to other people in the same area and say, well, you know what, in 10 years, you may develop something like this because you have an 18% chance, blah, blah, blah. Let's cure it now. And the entire point is to lower the amount of people that get sick in the long run, because it's really expensive to be unhealthy.
Oh.
Now they're using AI. No one's ever done this before at this scale. And I'm a big fan of this company. The amount of, it's just, I've never seen a stock be so manipulated in my life. like this company is doing amazing things, right? And it's constantly at like $1, right? It's just been, if you look at and I don't know
Oh,
how deep
it's
you guys
being
go into stock.
shorted.
It's being shorted to Kingdom Come. I don't know if you know what dark pools are in
Yeah,
the financial world.
you explained that to me actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so dark pools are essentially another stock market that only the big players can access. If you're a regular investor, you can't access it. But if you have massive orders and you don't want to affect the stock price, instead of dumping it on the open market, you can sell it to like Chase, or you can sell it to any hedge fund, right? So what they do is they purchase a bunch of shares in this company, and then they dump it on the open market whenever good news comes out. So people are buying it and they're dumping shares to suppress the price. It's called box cellaring. And they've done it to many companies. They do it so that you essentially
Box what? Sorry.
box cellaring, like a box seller.
Cellaring.
No, like, yeah, like a box seller.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Seller.
essentially,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So they keep it low. And on the stock market, if your price is below $1 for a certain amount of time, you essentially get delisted. And
Right.
you know, a whole lot of bad things happen at that point. So Humana and United Healthcare, their money making is to inflate everything, right? They want, as we were saying, they want you to be sick, because the sicker you are, the more they can sell you expensive medicines and the longer you're a customer for. This company is in healthcare, but it's trying to identify potential risks in the future to bring down costs. And it's been working. And they've been attacked by these big healthcare companies, just an insane amount. So
it makes complete sense.
it's incredible to see this fight
It's a big
happening in
threat to
real
them.
time.
It's a big threat to them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think so. This kind of goes back to something we were talking about before with the unstoppable domains and the control over every facet of society that these globalists want, and that politicians want. And the UN, people at the UN, they think that they can control every aspect of people's lives. But it reminds me of, so it's this idea of entropy, that or this idea that something that requires energy to hold together will inevitably fall or break, because energy is not infinite. So if you're doing something from a suppressive standpoint, from an oppressive standpoint, you need a military. That's why the Soviet Union was inevitably going to fall. That's why Maoist China was inevitably going to fall, because you can only impose against people's will for so long. And that's why the free market and capitalism and a republic and free association is something that doesn't require energy from without. It's energy from within. So it's this endothermic reaction, if you will. Endothermic is where it's happening within, and it's not something that requires, do you understand what I mean? It's not something that requires a blanket over it and control. So it just ties into all of this in terms of, I think that this new world order, or this new regime, or this great reset, or whatever the heck you want to call it, that's clearly happening. It's not a conspiracy theory. I think it's inevitably going to fail because of all of these things we're talking about, because of the democratization of the internet. I said it and I got it. Because the energy of each individual person and the free association of everybody is going to inevitably beat these people that think that they can control everything. And the last point on that is the weaponization of language and taking the language back. Conspiracy theory is one that we need to flip, reshape, because it's nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. Like a conspiracy theory, a theory that there is a conspiracy.
It just means it just means critical thinking, basically.
It's literally, it's like, we should say, yeah, I have a theory that this is a conspiracy, but it's like a very likely theory. It's like, I have objective facts that suggest that there is a conspiracy. We got to do something like this is just the mainstream theory. This is the mainstream narrative, which we use, but it's not as powerful. And conspiracy theory is very poignant.
There's an issue, or there's a way that I can see the left that they can use that. If you frame it like that, this is the mainstream narrative, then they can easily say, well, in postmodern thought, this is a social construct. So this is just a man and a woman only exist because socially you constructed society. So they're very good at playing word games. So, and they've thought about all this stuff. So conservatives or just people who want normalcy, not even conservatives, I'm just going to say just regular people who aren't part of this fringe, need to have a way to combat this stuff. and I know listening to this podcast is a big part of that, because people just learn things that you don't really hear anywhere else, in a coherent way. And the other is that we need to make almost like a dictionary of how to combat these words. When people call you a conspiracy theorist, what do you say to that, especially if you're in a crowd of people, right? Because someone calls you, puts a label on you, or someone calls you a racist or a bigot or whatever in a group of people, the urge is to immediately be on the defensive and then explain to yourself or explain to them how you're not. But they've already won the battle if you're defending yourself. So
maybe we should develop some rules. Maybe we should develop some rules for rules against radicals.
I think that's a great idea.
Could be good. So
something along those lines.
So the definition of conspiracy is actually really interesting. So
it's a legal term. It's a legal term, right?
Well, it's
go ahead.
A conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something harmful or unlawful, or it's an action of plotting or conspiring, right? So that definition doesn't really work because you're using the same word to define it. But then if you put it together, it's a thought about a group of people trying to overthrow something, right? That's all a conspiracy theory is.
And that's why it's actually, you know what? In some sense, it's wrong, because it's not secret anymore. It's not a secret. It's literally like we're not even like saying things. We're not even making things up. We're not even connecting dots. They're connected for us. You're telling us you want to have a 15-minute city. You're telling us that you want to, get rid of all gas-powered vehicles, of all this stuff, everything that they're doing, they're telling us they're doing, and then we're pointing it out and they're saying, no, this isn't happening.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why in my videos I use the specific language, and I highlight the written part of the book, or I play a video of them saying the specific words, because when people try to say, oh, that's you're incorrect, I'm like, well, that's their exact words I just posted, right? Like I talked about Herbert Marcuse being the father of wokeness in a video, and someone said, oh, he didn't mean that. I'm like, I literally posted, and it's always the same response to the comment. I literally posted his exact words, and people really shut up after that. The other thing I think that really gave that conspiracy a bad name was that Mel Gibson movie, Conspiracy Theory, right? Where he played.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, there's a really good movie called Conspiracy Theory, where essentially he knows facts about this government organization, and it's they're out to get him. But the thing is, in the movie, he plays this very like neurotic kind of guy, right? So he kind of came off as kooky, even though he was right in the end. He came off as kooky, and had he played just a regular character, maybe the image of a conspiracy theorist or someone who has ideas wouldn't have come off so whatever.
So I haven't even heard of that movie, so I don't know. It's possible it had some effect. I'm going to watch that with Julia Roberts, also Patrick Stewart. Nice.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
But so
here's another. Sorry, go.
Just the birth of the term conspiracy theory, from what I understand, is that the CIA literally used it to refer to the JFK assassination. That was and I think that it was used a long time ago in the Soviet Union, something along those lines, or in a different way. But that's where it was really popularized to refer to something that, and then it was used for 9/11 and everything under the sun now, right? But sorry, go ahead.
Well, there's another really good show called Rabbit Hole on Amazon Prime that's probably a little bit similar to the Mel Gibson movie, but it's Kiefer Sutherland, and he's got some like mental issues, but he knows all this stuff, crazy stuff about it. Yeah, it's probably the same thing, to be honest. But then on another note, I think one of the reasons why there's so many conspiracy theories, and by the way, I don't believe all of them, right? I think there is elements of truth there, but I think that the human spirit, we just know when we're being lied to, right? Especially if you're like awake, right, and you kind of understand like what's going on and how the government doesn't have your best interest at heart, but there's something in here that's telling you that something isn't right, and so people are grasping onto all these conspiracy theories, right? Like there's a couple that are going around right now that are really popular that I don't think necessarily have a lot of merit. But people just have this like sense that they're being lied to, and they're
Mhm.
looking for truth, and they're not going to get it from the government. They're not going to get it from the mainstream. And so they're going to go to YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, like all these other video places where people are putting out documentaries about what they think could happen. Right. And so people are just, they're starving for truth.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. They're out searching for truth.
I think awake is one that we have to reappropriate. Awake, not woke. Awake, not woke. Might be a little slogan, because a lot of people are actually kind of waking up, and we're seeing it's nice. It's awesome to see slowly but surely. But we have to have this movement to reappropriate language that has been weaponized against us. And so on the note of conspiracy theory and disinformation, misinformation, they're all kind of sorry, they're all on the note of conspiracy theory. So side note, like cut.
Yeah, let's do
if
that.
if you're missing something or like something like that, like I stop myself, just re-say it so that I could then cut it. I
Yeah,
can
and
cut
then
out
clap
that
so
piece.
there's that spike in
Right.
the
Sorry, I got a little. But yeah, you understand what I mean? Like if you mess something up, restart it so that I can cut that part out. But so on the note of conspiracy theory and disinformation and misinformation, going back to this idea that was another idea that was weaponized. It's like, well, we're listening to the experts, and it's like it goes with what you're saying, Gentry. It doesn't take an expert to call out bullshit. It doesn't take an expert to say, well, that doesn't make any freaking sense. I don't have to be a virologist and a epidemiologist and a family doctor, whatever the hell you think an expert is, or Dr. Fauci, who has not been in a lab in 40 years, who's just a mouthpiece for whatever the heck comes to him. You don't have to be an expert to call out bullshit. And I don't have to know everything exactly, but I can say that's nonsense, right? These numbers aren't adding up. I'm not, and this actually, sorry, goes back to what you were saying, Fabian. People are a lot smarter than the left gives most people credit for. Like I trust the average person that sends us messages on Instagram or Facebook more than any expert on mainstream news, like by far.
Yeah.
Because they're actually curious, they're actually researching in different places. These people are just mouthpieces and funnels of propaganda. They're just spewing out BS that's written up for them. They don't have a single creative original thought that crosses their minds. It's all repetition.
Yeah, there's a video that goes exactly to what you're saying, Mike. I forget who it is. It's a member of some kind of parliament of somewhere in Europe, and she's talking to another person. I think maybe German and Dutch, and I think it may be like the Minister of Health or something like that in one of the countries. Anyway,
not Christine Anderson.
I don't know exactly the name, but they're preparing for a conference, and their mics are on, so they're hot mic'd, and maybe they didn't realize it. And they have all these papers with them, and and she looks at them. She's like, I don't know why we bring all this stuff. She goes, we're just gonna write. She goes, we're just gonna read the notes that they gave us anyway. And I'm like, holy crap! Like,
no, I gotta find that. Find that.
It's incredible.
I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna insert that here.
It's just
insert here.
It's just, I mean, the stuff that you see now, it's just, I mean, it's so easy to get information out, and especially back then. Let's say you were a reporter or you were an editor and you saw a piece of film, like for instance, what I just said right now, right? Like that hot mic situation. To get it on the internet would be incredibly hard, especially if it's on film, right? How do you get that film? You take it from your production studio, you make a copy, you bring it back, you take that copy and then you digitize it and you put it on the internet. And where do you even put it at? There's no one. So now you can just, with your phone, you take a video and you upload it on X or you upload it, wherever, and it's there. So the transition of getting information out to everyone is just so incredibly easy now. And I think that's one of the big benefits that we have, especially, and again, going back to, I know we're beating a dead horse, but we're constantly praising Twitter. And one of the,
and Rumble,
I really realized, yes, and Rumble, idea, yes, exactly.
The idea is the thing.
Yeah. And when I really realized it was when I was searching for the Joan Rivers comment on Google, and it was nowhere. I went on YouTube. CNN has the title of the video, but switched out the clip. And I'm like, where am I going to find this? I've seen it on Twitter. So I just went on Twitter and I found it. And I'm like, you cannot find this. It's still there. They just don't index it. So if it's not indexed,
right. Or
You don't know where to get it
it's
at.
still on YouTube. Somebody else posted it, but CNN themselves, I mean, that's what happens though, right? And that's the beauty of this, is that once it's posted, it's there and somebody's going to grab it. So we'll be able to repost it, right?
Yeah.
So somebody will repost it on YouTube, it'll get taken down, somebody will repost it, you know, they'll not notice it, or there won't be the hashtags, or, you know, it won't trigger the algorithm, if you will. But CNN themselves removed it. And you saw the comment of we're getting some lovely hate comments on our videos. I love it.
And that's good because you know, I like to have a conversation with people who don't agree with me. So for instance, there was a gentleman who said like the Democrats are trying to help kids and daycare, all that stuff. And
like,
then I asked him, I said, how sure are you about this? Are you 100% sure, or would you say it's less than 100%? If it's less than 100%, well, where does the doubt come from? That's what I want to tap into. Right? Because if you say it's 100% right, like, okay, well then clearly that's illogical, because nothing in the world is 100%, right? We don't know anything that's 100% going to happen. Not even the sun rising, you know, tomorrow, which is one of the most sure things that we can count on. So if you're telling me it's 100%, then that clearly says that you're lying. And if it's less than 100%, that's the part I want to talk about. Why do you think there's maybe this doubt and that they have everything right for you? And I believe if you approach people like that, instead of saying, oh, you're stupid because everyone's looking to bump heads, but if you really just ask questions and you allow them to talk and really think about what they're saying, you're going to find nuggets in there that you can then hone in on and say, well, tell me more about that. Like, where does that come from? When did you first think about that? Have you always been like this, or what did you see or hear? And then they start to paint a picture of who they are for you, and then where they became these people. And that's why I really ask questions like that instead of just telling them, oh, you're stupid, you're dumb, whatever.
That's really good. You should clip that and put that on your Instagram, because people need to see that.
Yeah. And you know, I think it came to me when I worked in mortgage for 9 years. So I sold mortgages, or rather I did the mortgages. And when you're conducting the biggest financial transaction of someone's life, and when you need to get into their finances, especially when, you know, they're an older person, they have, you know, that pride, they're not going to tell you anything that's true in the first 20 minutes. So everything I know, it's all BS. Oh, I'm fine. Well, why do you want to refinance your home? Or, you know, why are you doing this or what? And they give you these surface level answers. So it's a hard conversation to have. Right. But you have to do it, because if not, they're never going to open up. And once they open up, once they trust you and they're like, Fabian, like you know, I don't know what to do. I'm at a point where either I lose a house or, you know, I do this, but it's just, and it's asking those
but
questions.
then you can find the best solution for them.
Exactly.
In that case. But the same thing happens with psychologists, same thing happens with doctors. People are very reluctant to share and to open up, and you have to gain people's trust, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Two of the best questions I would ask them, and these is a good secret for anyone, you know, especially if you're in sales or just if you're trying to help someone, is I would ask them, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite meal? You know, oh, shrimp and whatever, shrimp scampi. Well, how often do you eat it? You know, like a few times a year. So you're telling me your favorite food, you only eat it a few times. Why? What's shrimp, you know, how much is that? $30? Okay, so what's really going on? Why don't you eat it every night? And then you can use other ways to get in.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
That's no, for sure. There's people want to talk about themselves. It's just a matter of you making them feel like you want to listen, right? And that you actually genuinely do, and they can tell whether or not you do. And asking people questions and not just telling people stuff, not just talking at people, is huge. And so on that note of having discussions with people, you know, sometimes there's certain discussions that I've stopped having with people regarding COVID, regarding a lot of things. It's not worth it, particularly in person. I mean, with friends and whatnot, it's not worth me having this discussion. If somebody says they're sick, or they have COVID, or they took a test and they have COVID, you know, my instinct is to say, well, these tests are useless, but I just don't anymore, because it's not worth it. You pick your battles. But at the same time, I keep fucking losing my train of thought. At the same time, what were you just saying, Fabian? Getting people to open up. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to have conversations with people that are open to being wrong about things, open to being wrong about their ideas. Otherwise, it's not interesting, right? Why just talk at each other if we're not open to being wrong about our ideas? And that's what the one thing I've learned over time is that most of the ideas I think are true at the moment will likely be amended in the future at some point, in some way. They will likely change. They have constantly throughout, since I think I have awakened, which was 2016, I was telling you, and Jordan Peterson going from Bernie bro to Trump supporter. Not everybody goes through that awakening period from liberal to conservative, which is a natural transition. But I don't want to have conversations with people that aren't open to being wrong, and it's just not interesting, right? And we're very like-minded, us three, but we're likely going to clash on certain ideas. We likely don't agree about everything, and I think that the reason we can have good discussions is because we're open to learning what each other has to offer. Everybody has something that you don't know. There's something to offer, something for you to learn. So if you're open to hearing and open actually listening to people, it's so much more fruitful of a discussion, and you just gain so much more as opposed to just arguing and trying to shove your point down somebody's throat.
Or just speaking to an echo chamber.
Right.
Because you learn nothing.
Right.
Which we do all day long.
Yeah, well, it's true. We're kind of our own little echo chamber here, but I think we play devil's advocate well enough.
Yeah. I mean, as far as myself, I think both political parties are stupid. In a sense, is that they're not out for the best of us. So I don't tout any party line. I'm a registered independent. I grew up a Democrat, and it's not what it used to be, but there are good people on both sides, are just genuinely good people. And I'll hang out with anybody, right? I mean, not like really, really bad people, but just people who think differently from me. And
but people that have humility, like where's the humility in people? Where's the not enough people have been humbled in their lives, right? You can tell when somebody hasn't been humbled, when somebody hasn't gone through shit. Exactly. But I mean, Trudeau, Trudeau is a narcissist, and he's somebody who represents the generation that got participation trophies and was cudgeled and coddled and was never told he was wrong. I don't know if cudgeled is
cudgeled. No, that's like hitting with the hitting.
That's not a right word. No.
I mean, he should have been. He might have been more humble.
Yeah, exactly. He should have been humbled by a cudgel. But yeah, so it's perfect representation of that, actually, of people that can't be wrong, that can't learn from mistakes, that can't acknowledge mistakes. Like, where are the people that can acknowledge? Politicians. I don't remember the last time I heard a politician say, I was wrong about that. We're going to do better. I thought that this was the avenue to go down. We fumbled a little bit, but we're going to work harder towards that. Where are the people that do that?
Yeah, I think we lost that.
I wish Trump would do that about Operation Warp Speed and hiring
100%.
Fauci, or keeping Fauci on payroll, or keeping some of these other people on payroll.
Yeah.
Like I wish that he would apologize.
Yeah.
Because that would, I mean, I think if he did, well, I don't know what the war game on him apologizing would be. He doesn't do it a lot. So maybe that would be like a big thing, and people would respect him more, but maybe people would just hate him more. I don't know.
To me,
because it is a thorn for conservatives. It is a thorn for a lot of Republicans.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people who are looking at. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people who are looking at DeSantis and Vivek now because of the vaccine. There's even people looking at RFK because of the poke.
Yeah, so it should be.
It's a huge thing. RFK. It's a huge thing, and he pushed it a lot too.
Yeah, I remember when he got the jab. And when he was, saying, "Oh yeah, it's good, you should all get it," I was like, "Dude!"
Right. But it was very early. It was very early on, though. It was very early on, and it was before...
when he got flown to the hospital, right? In because he was sick, and he got flown on the helicopter, and
right.
He was gone for 2 days, and they're like, "Oh, Mike Pence might have to take over if things get bad." That was crazy.
But so it's all. There's a serious indoctrination that's happened for most people with virology and virus theory and germ theory, and Trump is 80 years old. He's never thought about viruses a day in his life. I'm sure. I give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that he got advice from people. This is what was happening. It was intense, a lot of shit going on. Nobody really knew much at the time. I didn't know anything about it. Now I've looked into the foundation of virology and I see that it's nonsense. But so I've never even thought of the difference between a viral infection and a bacterial infection. But so, and both of those are very, the foundations are very rocky, but whatever. But so you're right, though. I think if you just would acknowledge that, what, this was a mistake. I wasn't getting good advice.
Nobody knew much about it at that point.
Right.
Like, it was
that's the movie's got to do. But
and then he should get more angry that
if they lied to him.
If it were me, I'd say, look, if they lied to me, how much more do you think they're lying to you? And I would almost flip it and make the case that this is the exact reason why we have to get in here and change things up. So I don't know from an optics perspective how that would work, but that's what I would personally do. Mm-hmm. Say, I'm a victim too in this thing, right? Let's all band together and bring RFK along.
Clip it.
Clip it.
I think that's fantastic.
Clip what?
Oh, what Fabian just said. I think that's just brilliant.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It just turn it around on them, man. That's what they do. They play victim all the time. I think I said this in the last episode. It's like, how victimized are you? Because that's how much adoration you get from people.
Well, that's
both sides play at that game.
That's the whole reason. Well, I don't want to play that game. I want to just freaking destroy that game, But that's the reason why a lot of kids these days identify as LGBT, whatever, because it's that same phenomenon. It's that same complex, that victim complex, that if you can't get validation, if you can't get attention from adults, from friends in whatever way, this is an easy out to just say, oh, I'm LGBT, and then there's a celebration for you, right? Yeah. The teachers celebrate, the community celebrate, the it's like something weird is happening here. It's like it's the new participation trophy.
I'm just thinking right now, as you were saying that, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, is if I'm a kid in, let's say, Seattle, right? Sorry not to bring up Seattle, but or Los Angeles, whatever, any leftist city, and I'm growing up as a kid, and all the other men around me are all feminized. Who am I going to look up to as a hero? And I think that's maybe in part why Jordan Peterson, and it just exploded. And even to a certain extent, Andrew Tate, which I don't watch any of his stuff. I watched like one clip in my entire life of the guy. And I get his gimmick and all that, but because there's a innate want to be a man in children, right? Like, and you can tell them, hey, you're not a man, you're trans or whatever, but people still feel it. Like you were saying, like you can't really BS people. They know something's off. And maybe if there's not a lot of male figures in their life, they go to the internet to find one, and they find one and they latch on. And people may not know that Andrew Tate is not, whatever a normal man should be, but he talks like one and he acts like one. So if you don't know any, how do you base him against anyone else if that's all you know? So Jordan Peterson is great. He may be above a lot of people's, capacity to understand what he says, especially for younger children. So what's a layman's version of Jordan Peterson in a sense? Like Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense to me.
Good point.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of, I have a lot of uncles, and they're all like, father figures to me. So I learned, but God, I would hate to be a kid now. It would just suck. And the fact is, they don't even know that it sucks to be a kid. There's a lot
of them fighting, though. It looks like there's a lot of kids that are aware of it and that are, having speeches at their student councils or whatever, and going to these parent teacher meetings or whatever the heck it is. And you see these kids are smart. These kids are on it, like a lot more aware of stuff than we were.
Yep, right? Absolutely.
They're a lot more in tune with politics, which they shouldn't be. They should be able to be kids, right? They shouldn't have to be. They shouldn't be kids saying, well, I want to wear a MAGA shirt. Why the hell can I wear a MAGA shirt? Mm-hmm. Why can't I wear, what the hell's going on here?
And I think that it's really important to have kids speak up against it, because other kids will say, wow, if they can do it, so can I. Right, they'll see us three and be like, yeah, but those are full grown men already. They know all this stuff or whatever. But if they see a kid doing it and have the balls and then get applauded by people. So for instance, to flip what you were saying, exactly. Instead of being trans, wow, you're so brave because you're a man and you have foundations and you have morals. That's incredible. Like that kid who came in with the "Don't Tread on Me" sticker. Like that kid is a badass kid. He has more balls than most men I've met in my life. You know,
I didn't know what the hell that was at that age. What the heck?
Neither did I.
It's been a couple of years since I know what that is.
Neither did I. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot more in tune with the culture, right?
Yeah.
But that's also why it's so easy to mold them into whichever direction, right?
Yeah, and that's one reason why I love what Elon Musk is doing. I've been a fan of his because I love space. I'm the biggest space nerd, and what he's done is incredible because you have all these young kids who look up to him, not because he was a rich business person who didn't even know what the hell Tesla was, but loves space, and he is the foremost person in space. I mean, you could say ever, or at least right now. So you have all these kids.
He's a private individual. He's not like the government. He's not NASA. It's like it's taking Elon Musk to develop this stuff. And that company almost went belly up. SpaceX almost went belly up multiple times, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now I love what he's doing with Twitter because he's introducing the gaming element. He's playing Diablo.
I didn't see that. Oh, he's gaming. Okay.
Yeah, he's actually gaming and he's playing Diablo on Twitter. So he says he wants to make it a Twitch competitor. So you have all these children who want to look up to a male figure. He has a lot of kids. He has like 10 kids. He owns a freaking rocket company. He's a gamer. Like,
when you put it like that,
as a kid,
owns a rocket company.
Dude, the guy is so cool, right? If you're a kid, compared to like, okay, and he's a man's man, right? And then when you compare him to these guys wearing high heels, you're like, ugh, that's not cool.
Yeah. Gentry, can you move a bit to the center? More to the center, move your camera.
Oh, he has a son right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Just thinking editing wise, but it's fine actually because I could just center it on you when I do the full screen.
Yep.
Well, I think we're almost
good.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up a thought and go naturally into it. So, so the indoctrination. Okay, so to just follow that quickly, and then you can wrap it up. I don't know if you want to, Gentry, you started off, you want to finish it off, and do you have maybe kind of go bullet point what we went over, or not? Just say, all right, guys, it's time.
We went over a lot, dude.
Yeah,
no, for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, not. I mean, not like. Yeah, I meant more like the.
Hold on, let me fire up the
couple
AC.
Things
it is burning in here. 1 second.
I'm sweating too, man. It's wild. I think I got some pit sweat over here. I'm trying not to.
Do I got any pit sweat? Nope, I don't. I think I had pit sweat on the first episode.
You did? I didn't notice that. I watched those videos for a long time, so I didn't see it.
Oh, really? Well, maybe I didn't. Maybe it was like an optical illusion. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start wearing shirts that black shirts are the way to go.
You know what's crazy is I was just thinking about that. Well, my hair got really crazy, but from the first episode, I have like a hat and glasses on and a sweater, or whatever. So I've been wearing just collared shirts because it just looks, for optics.
Yeah.
It looked more professional. What the hell?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that there's probably some like bigger media outlets that we could get on if we look really presentable while we're talking about all these really smart things.
Yeah, exactly.
I can start wearing a dress shirt.
No, Michael, I think you start wearing a dress. I think that's
honestly, if we want
a MAGA dress, so you're
get right down the middle. If we want to grow our audience, that's what we got to do, guys.
Yeah,
we got to get both.
Yeah.
So we play all sides of the ball.
Before we wrap up, so let's say, so in terms of kids being easily influenceable, I think I mentioned this to you guys before. Patrick Bet David had a good take that I really liked, is that kids are naturally creative. Kids are naturally experimental. Naturally, they will, tussle and have rough and tumble plays, what Jordan Peterson calls it, and it's so essential for them to get their spatial reasoning right. And then they develop, and then they have they all question gender. They're all like, what is this? What do you got down there? And then they're like, all right, your cousin will put a dress on you as a boy, and you'll, or they'll dress up as whatever. And there's this fluctuation that happens naturally. And you don't need to, as an adult, incentivize that. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire, right? To incentivize more chaos, because chaos is inherently tied to creativity, right? And that's why a lot of creative people lose themselves a little bit, because they're tapping into a chaos. But what kids need is order. They need that constraint to be able to shape it and to use it and to mold it into something that is functional, something that is productive, that is effective. And there's a line there that you don't want to beat the creativity out of kids, like we're saying with the education system. But so there's a happy medium there where kids don't need more chaos. They need order. And that's why you have adults that need to impose that on kids, and not, have this feedback loop where you're like, oh, you're thinking this, oh yeah, let's go further, and you can be whatever you want to be. And it's like, Kate, it's interesting as like a playful idea, but it's not. It's really destructive for kids' development. And we're seeing that they're destroying the development of these kids, and it's going to have such lasting effects that we can't even fathom right now what this generation is going to have to deal with down the line in terms of mental health. Like, we're having mental health crises now with, the drug epidemic, the fentanyl and opium epidemic, opioid epidemic. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like with this generation.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of resentment of children towards parents in a few years, especially the parents that tried to why did you try to transition me? Like, can you believe it's going to be a lot of resentment. What did you do it for yourself? Did you do it for me? Am I what do they call them, like designer baby, where you use me for clout and for views? Because those videos are going to still be up there. And we hate when our parents did embarrassing things to us. So imagine the kind of resentment is going to be with parents, and then it's going to be sad to see families and parents who are older and resent that themselves, and then they're going to have either a mending of them and their children's relationship, or they just never talk again. Either way that goes, I believe the left wins, because if they want to break apart the nuclear family, it's a dilemma. But they win either way. They still break them apart.
So the way I see it,
Gentry, Gentry, can you go from your thought right now and then just close us off?
Sure. Yeah.
Love it. So do your thought and then say, all right, guys, this has been, we've been talking for an hour and a half. Let's end this.
Yeah. Okay. So the way I see it is the pendulum always swings one way, and then it goes all the way to the other side. I think the problem with this issue with the trans and puberty blockers and cutting off of genitals is that how do you have it swing the other way, right? Because like these parents are basically experimenting on these kids, so they won't be able to reproduce, and these kids are going to have so much resentment towards their families, towards their parents, they're going to try to go the opposite way, but then they can't actually reproduce in the future, right? So that's the one question I have, is like, how is the pendulum going to swing in the other direction? Or all these trans people are going to become like professional speakers and like talk about what happened? Is that going to help the family unit in a way, to have these like kids who were experimented on and just be like, hey, just be normal, right? So that's the question I have, and I don't think we're going to necessarily have an answer until we see it all play out.
They're being experimented on. That's
right. So anyway, we've been talking for an hour and a half. This has been a fantastically interesting podcast. I mean, we've gone down a whole bunch of rabbit trails, talked about a lot of really important stuff. Catch us next week, USA or Breakaway USA podcast. Follow all of our socials, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, folks. This was fun.
Was that a good outro?